Nexus Mods has officially sold out, and it seems to a company that is rather intent on monetization. So, paid mods 3.0, as I think we've had two previous waves of this, and it never worked out very well, so perhaps this might finally be the thing that pushes up an actual alternative to Nexus Mods. I certainly would be happy to see it, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, the post of the buyout was made here by the Dark One, the founder and creator, and it immediately had a lot of people very worried, understandably so, for the future of the world's largest modding site, largely due to an accidental monopoly rather than the quality of its service, but hey, details. In true Nexus Mod fashion, this discussion was then of course locked for not being civil enough. Getting with the program more correctly, but again, details. In the mod, the creator states that the reason why he's selling out now is because of burnout, that he's realized that he's doing too much work, that it's become too much of an obsession, and he wants to move on with his life. And additionally, of course, he gives out the usual platitudes. Nothing's changing for you. There'll still be the same crew here, and I'll still be around, and the people who's buying us out are really, really nice people. Perhaps a little bit obsessed with monetization, but don't worry, they totally won't ravage you or anything. Yeah, as mentioned, the platitudes have done very little to calm the screaming horde, so yeah. But burnout, right, I don't believe that for a second. So my own theory for this is that Nexus Mod has been a very active participant in the culture wars, explicitly so for the progressive movement. They have stated very clearly, completely unequivocally, that they are for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they have stated again and again that they will delete mods that are not for these values, and have indeed done so. You may add a mod that removes the American flag and replaces it with the Pride flag. You may not upload a mod that replaces the Pride flag with the American flag. You may upload a mod that turns a white person black. You may not upload a mod that turns a black person white, and so on. But recently, of course, with the remastered release of Obsidian, there was an addition of, or change more correctly, of the usual male to female gender to body type 1 and body type 2. Within hours of the game's release, there was a mod switching this back to male and female. Nexus Mod banned it, of course, but due to massive outrage, they then backtracked and went, whoa, listen here, we're not a battleground for the culture wars or anything, despite having repeatedly selected a side in aforementioned battleground, so we'll upload it. It was just some harassment or trolling, you see. We weren't deleting it because we're rabid culture warriors or anything, despite all evidence to the contrary. And this was but one of many such releases recently, or reverses, which makes me think that probably the founder is realizing that, okay, my ideology is dead. Progressivism has lost the culture war, and unless I want to be dragged down beneath the waves of irrelevance along with its sinking corpse, I need to get out now. And I think that's what he's doing, because he understands that he's not going to be able to not wield his site as a cudgel in a losing conflict, as the majority of leftists, quite simply, are fucking cowards. They gravitate towards the movement not because they know it or understand it or because they share some deep sympathy with it. Hell, the average progressive has no idea about the actual values or political intents of progressivism. They simply move towards it because it is popular. It offers protection and power, and that is pretty much the sole reason why most of them subscribe to it. And so, when there's pushback, the mice quickly scurry for their holes. Though, I will also offer up an alternative here. They mention in the post that they have been talking about this for a very long time, months and possibly even years, with the investment company, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, it is also conceivable that the company, as an external third entity, went, okay, right, listen, we don't want the negative PR of being a political company. It's obviously going to minimize our customer base and is going to give us all kinds of backlash and controversies. We don't want you to take a stance anymore. We simply want you to be a modding site. Now, as promising as that sounds, I will, however, then also hasten to add, do you believe that a stated, declared progressive would ever, in his wildest fungus-fueled fantasies, sell to anything but another progressive company? I suppose that depends on just how much burnout that he was experiencing and how much he's realized that his position is now untenable. So, the company in question, which interestingly is not mentioned in this announcement article, which is again, like if these are such good guys that aren't going to change anything, that you'll barely even notice the transition, why not introduce everyone? Well, the rumor currently is that it is a company run by this man here, Victor Follman, who is apparently Danish, or so the rumor goes. He is the owner of a company called Chosen, so this is it right here. Chosen appears to be like a gaming knowledge building infrastructure investment kind of company that tries to teach other people how to make successful products and websites. With things like struggling to monetize your gaming startup, unlock 40+ tools to supercharge your revenue experiments. And this is where this comes from. So, okay. There's a fair few aspects to this. Obviously, if you want to run a business, you've got to consider monetization. It's as simple as that, right? I do monetization on my channel. We do all kinds of funding events, for example, where chat gets to pick things in return for, well, giving me money. I try to move people over to Kick because it pays me more. Monetization is simply just a reality of the game. The question is, of course, what kind of monetization, how predatory and abusive, and the fact that we've tried paid mods before, and it just doesn't work. Largely because people have been so used to getting all of this for free that the idea of paying for a mod just sticks in the throat immediately. It is something that should be done for the passion of it, not for monetization. Not to mention, of course, the obvious abuses that such a system could introduce, as what, the modder's going to be responsible? What if it bricks your game? Are they going to be responsible for that? What if there's an update? Are they going to be responsible for updating the mod? You've bought it, you've paid for it, surely they must be required to do so now, etc, etc, etc. And again, there are good forms of monetization. They mention here, for example, don't over-monetize early and avoid bombarding users with ads or pushing too many in-app purchases early in the game's life cycle. Now, immediately that does sound a lot like they're going to plan to do all of that later in the life cycle, but again, details, eh? And there are ways to monetize this well, pushing creators to create their own funding, to add on Patrons, to add on donation options, etc. Now, this is never going to generate all that much cash. I remember seeing a post in defense of paid mods during the whole Bethesda trying to do paid mods with Skyrim controversy, where a mod creator says, okay, I've got the monetization link, but like 1 in 100 people donates. I can't live like this, and I know, but that is the reality. 1 in 100 people, probably not even that, donate to most things on my channel as well. The overwhelming majority of viewers, of course, are simply just watching. The overwhelming majority of people playing a mod will simply play the mod. That is fine, and it is the unescapable reality of the internet, so you kind of just gotta adapt to it. But doing this on a site basis, there are only so many ways you can monetize. One is, of course, ads everywhere, and it is probably the most likely approach. Another would be to require say a premium service system, where you can purchase to gain access to certain mods, or in-development mods, or maybe spin-off Lovers Labs, Nexus Mods' pervier cousin, as a pay-to-play alternative, for example. And of course, the real horror one would be, alright, we earn all of our money off ads. I wonder if there's some way to put ads in the mods. This could go very poorly, very, very quickly. And it doesn't have to, but whenever you do something like this, whenever you bring in corporate interest into what has always been a passion and community-driven setting, you're going to see a lot of friction. And in many cases, it's going to destroy what was once there, as these are really painless mergers. So, again, a lot of people in the comments are already quite worried about what's going on. A lot of people have expressed disappointment. A lot of people have expressed urges that they continue to be political. Others have continued to urge they stop being political, and so on. This company is going to have a very hard time winning over the majority of users, and again, at the end of the day, if this ends up destroying Nexus Mods, maybe we're better off for it, as we humans tend to be lazy creatures. We like to get all of our stuff from one site, one page, one area of the internet, and Nexus Mod provided just that. And so a lot of people put up with the politics, the nonsense, the inconveniences, because they'd gotten used to it. Maybe a few dozen ads will finally convince someone to move on to greener pastures, potentially. Maybe it'll give other competitors an added boost to really move up the ranks. Either way, Nexus Mod has always been a little bit on my shit list, and I only ever use it when I'm basically forced to anyway, so if it dies, it dies. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.